One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Jess Duff. Jess is the special assistant to the athletics director and department head here at MIT. Greetings, Jess. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you allowing me to come here on campus and do this interview in person.
I'm so glad you're here.
Now, Jess, you've been in this role for a year and a half, right? Now you have almost 10 years in college athletics. You were a basketball coach, and you worked at the NCAA office with the Office of Inclusion, and now you're here at MIT. What I would like to know from you is, when this opportunity was presented to you to be the special assistant to the athletics director, why did it pique your interest?
Sure. So I want to first preface that by saying that I absolutely loved my job at the NCAA. I think a passion of mine is diversity and inclusion, and I was working in the Office of Inclusion, and we were doing some really awesome things. I was super proud of the work that we were putting out to our membership. I worked with incredible people who I am still in touch with, so I'm very grateful for my opportunity at the NCAA. But I wanted a little bit more, and I wanted to be back on a campus. I wanted to be able to further the mission of an athletics department. I missed the interaction that I had previously with coaches and with student athletes that I wasn't getting necessarily at the national office. And so I certainly valued my time at the NCAA, and I knew that if I were to leave this great job that I had and go onto a campus, it needed to be the right fit for me, and it needed to be a place where the department and institutional values and mission aligned with my own personal values. And so I was not gonna just go to any campus. I played in the NUMAC, which is what MIT is a part of. I coached in the NUMAC, and I have very strong respect for the schools that are in this conference. MIT is incredible, and I knew that before I even applied for the job. And Julie Soriero is someone that I had admired from afar previously, so I had only heard great things about her, and I wanted the opportunity to work for her. And I knew how much respect she garnered, and how the MIT athletics department in general was really on the up and up. So it seemed like the right time, the right place, and that's kind of where I
here you are now, right, a year and a half in. Now, your role as a basketball coach, which is probably one of the most influential roles in college athletics in terms of leading young people, you did that. You did that for a number of years, former student athlete. You went to the NCAA in a very influential office, which is the Office of Inclusion. And you find yourself now working for Julie Soriero, like you mentioned. You bring her into the conversation. This is one of the great leaders in college athletics. And it's sad to say that she's retiring here, so good luck to what she ends up doing. But I wonder how that experience has been in terms of your growth as a person, working for someone like Julie on a campus like MIT.
Yeah, I mean, I've only been here a year and a half, but my growth professionally and personally has grown, instrumentally because of Julie. I'm so thankful for her leadership and for her mentorship. I think Julie is someone that, as I mentioned before, I admired from afar, and I'd had maybe one or two conversations with. But she is someone who walks into a room and commands respect, and people just turn and they listen to her. And so, that can be a little bit intimidating. And so when I arrived, I wanted to make sure that I was perfect in everything that I did. That was really important to me, to sort of impress her and to make sure that I did work for her. That was good work. But Julie is, although she's confident, she's one of the most humble people I know, and is so personable, and really connects to people in a way that I haven't seen from a lot of other top athletics directors, and that is really inspiring to see someone who commands so much respect, but also someone who can sit down and ask you about your day and have a conversation with you and make you really feel at ease and like you're heard and like your voice and your opinions matter. And that's been the most eye-opening thing for me, I think, is just realizing that she's just a person, and she's an awesome person, and she's so successful, but she's just a person. And she has really helped sort of instill the confidence in me that, I didn't know I had. So
I'll ask one more question about Julie.
Sure.
If I ask any more, she would probably be upset at both of us for making the conversation about Julie and not about you. But when you first arrived, right, she sat you down and explained the expectations to you, explained how she wanted you to do things. Was that a formal conversation, or did you just watch and follow her to learn how she did? Like, how technical was she in terms of leadership when you came to this institution?
Well, she made it very clear coming in that, yes, there are roles and responsibilities for this position, but that it's really important that I made it my own. And she's given me so much autonomy to make decisions both within the department and outside. MIT Athletics is under the umbrella of the Division of Student Life. And I've had the opportunity to serve on some DSL committees across campus. I've met some other people, and that's really, really important for her, that her direct reports are getting the professional development that they sort of hope for.
In your role, you've talked about the influence that Julie has had on you. You talked about some of the things you've learned from watching her. Has there been any major projects that you've been responsible for in this last year and a half?
Yeah, so prior to my arriving, we had something called Engineering Success, and it was essentially a student-athlete well-being program. And unfortunately, we were seeing some low numbers. Our students weren't super engaged in the process. I'm not sure our coaches were either. So we really wanted to revive this program and maybe think of something new and exciting that our students would get something out of. We got together an ad hoc committee comprised of student athletes and coaches and other staff in the department. And we really, we spent a few months thinking about what is important to our students and what do we want them to get out of this.
Did you have a hand in putting that committee together?
I did, yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess you explained the purpose of it. What is it called? Is it still called the...
It's no longer Engineering Success, although we really like that name. We were like, we got to think of something new. So it's just our student-athlete leadership program.
Okay. And then you've identified outcomes. You identified how you would evaluate the program. It's been in effect for how long now?
It has been in effect since this past fall, since September. And it actually started with the Leaders Compass book. We had someone come to campus. We sent books to every rising leader and captain and had them read the Leaders Compass. And then the idea is that they come up with their own sort of leadership philosophy. So that was the beginning. But we saw this new revived student-athlete leadership program as an opportunity to really equip our student-athletes with the tools to become effective leaders, both on their teams, in their communities, in the classroom, and then after they graduate. And MIT students, as everyone knows, they are brilliant. But at the end of the day, they're 22, 19 years old, and we really felt like there was an opportunity to connect with some campus partners, to create campus partnerships, and bring those experts in to teach our students about leadership.
What was your process for you can send a student athlete a book, but that's a book amongst other books that they have to study for their classes. What was your process to get the student athletes and the coaches and the rest of the whole department bought in to what you guys were doing with this specific program?
Yeah, I think we're learning as we go.
Right.
There's only a couple of us working on the program, and so we see what works and we send out assessments, and if it doesn't work, then we go back to the drawing board and we figure something else out. It's really, really important for us to get the most out of this. The students don't want to come and leave like they, didn't learn anything, and we also don't want to put time into it. So that's been really key to our success, I think, is listening to the student voice and, asking them what's important to them.
Right. And the coaches across the country, from what I know about student-athlete development programs, there's a difficulty of getting the coaches bought in. Tell me about how you've addressed that challenge here at MIT in terms of this student-athlete leadership program.
Yeah, I think our coaches just needed this program to be new and exciting for their students. And, it was certainly a top-down promotion of the leadership program. Julie bought in from the beginning, and which really, really does help. And we got the word out, and we, sent our learning outcomes to our coaches, and we had them involved in the decision-making process. They were on the ad hoc committee. They talked with their student athletes, so they really felt like they were a part of the process, which I think was important too. And so we rely really heavily on our coaches to spread the word when we have programs coming up. Our students are probably more likely to, read an email from their coach than from some of the administrators. So we are very fortunate to have coaches that see the value in this.
Now, anytime you have a program like this on a campus, while it's great to come from internal resources and you want to send books and you want to create programming and those kind of things, but if you can get some outside help, if you can get a donor to buy in, if you can get the greater campus, if you can get a sponsor or anything, always makes it better. Have you had any luck trying to get this thing resourced in terms of trying to grow it to where you want it to be?
I think that might have been what we were missing, or at least a portion of what we were missing before. Okay. For good or bad, it was really important to have some funding and some resources for this program. And we are so fortunate to have really, really incredible donors and alumni, but one particular donor who graduated from MIT, who's very invested in MIT at large and in the athletics department here, kind of said, what can we do? What can we do to make sure that our captains are effective leaders on their team? And so it was really a two-way street. He had an idea, we had some ideas, and he was really willing to fund the program after he heard sort of what our ad hoc committee had come up with and the outcomes that we had hoped for. So
a donor was interested in doing something to help with leadership. Now, what was your role in, for the lack of a better word, cultivating the donor in terms of, did you meet with the donor? I mean, did you leave it up to the development office or Julie, or tell me about what your role was in there?
Right. Well, I think we are really fortunate in the sense that our donor, Joe, is on campus a lot, and at any time he's on campus, he is reaching out to us and saying, let's meet up, I can't wait to get an update. And so he is very good with communication as well. And we constantly are in communication with him after programs. This is how it went. This is what needs to be better. This is the assessment that we got. And he's been amazing in the fact that he is so well connected on campus, and he has connected us with some really vital campus resources who have helped with the implementation of some of our programming.
You met with Joe, I guess. Describe the program to him and basically what you thought it would take to make it a successful program. That's like development, basically.
Yeah, he had the idea that, we focus our program on captains only, and we went a little bit further and decided to create a 3-tier sort of interactive approach to our program. So we have focus on our first-year student athletes, we have a focus on our rising leaders or our potential captains, and then we have a captains program. So the programming in itself differs a little bit. There is some overlap, but we thought it was important to sort of differentiate them because they're at different points in their athletics career.
Right. Well, I'll say this, Jess. You've coached, influencing young people, influencing student athletes. You've worked at the NCAA on a broad scale in terms of, hey, let's make this thing we call college athletics look more like the membership, look more like the people who are playing when you talk about diversity and inclusion. And now you're here at MIT working for a great leader in Julie Soriero, and you have experience in terms of putting together a program. It sounds like you've, indirectly done some fundraising, and things sound like they really are working for you in this position that you're serving here at MIT. I bet they feel like they're lucky to have you here on campus.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's really nice of you to say. If there's something I've learned from Julie, though, the work is never done, and you just got to keep going for it. So I'm excited to see sort of where the department is headed.
Right, and I think people are excited to see where you're headed in terms of your role. Jess, I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Thank you for having me.
That was Jess Duff. She's a special assistant to the athletics director and department head at MIT. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.